Con 10 or con 6? Con 6. And Jim's informed me that they're doing they're loading a soda can on the 16th. So.
Today I want to talk about sound. We have, so far what we've done with sound is we talk to the computer talks to us, but actually you want to have background music or noises or whatever, you want to add sound to your programs. So what I want to talk about today is how to get those sound files to play on your web page. Okay, it's not complicated. But first, to begin with, there are different kinds of sound files. They have just like you have a JPEG and a PNG and all that. With pictures, you also have sounds that have different kind of file formats. The two file formats that we're interested in would be like you have a file. One's called WAV, W-A-V, .wav, and the other one that we're going to use is called MP3. Those are the two we're going to use, okay? And they're kind of standards. This one here is the most common one. WAV is a little less common, but they understand them all. This is very similar to any kind of field that many people go into at the same time. When the internet was invented, they had a bunch of different sound formats, and so they tried to accommodate them. They finally got it down to the ones that are the most compact, most compressed. It doesn't take a lot of space to move them around. And they decided these guys were among the best, so they started to use them. So essentially, to play a sound, you have to have a file that has that sound someplace. You have to have a file in your folder with the program that has that sound. So the first thing I want to do is supposing you wanted to have a program that you open up, and what you basically want to do is you want to have the music start to play, and that's what you wanted. Just have that background playing. As soon as you open up the program, it just starts playing. And you'll notice that our webpage had that on for a while. I had a sound thing, but I pulled it off because it was so irritating. For a couple of times it was kind of cute, but after a while it became pretty fun. So this is going to be a program that's going to actually allow you just to put sound onto your web page, and then I'll explain all the different parts to you. Same old thing. HTML head. Okay. This time we're going to introduce a thing called audio, like this. It's a tag. It's an audio. And by the way, this audio tag can be here or it can be down the body. It can be where you put it. You can put it any place you want. Okay. It doesn't really make any difference, except that I'll show you. It does make a difference if you're going to make it visible to the user. Then you want to put it in the body. Otherwise, you should put it just like we always do. Put all these things out of the way up on top. Okay. First thing you have to do is it's a tag, so you have to give it an identification. So you say, well, give it a name of some kind. Okay, I'm going to call this my audio. And its source is going to be, this is very similar to the code that we've used for putting all our includes. It's sort of like an include file. In this case right here, I have this thing called, what did I call it? Give it a name. Canon.mp3. You know Pachelbel's Canon? Mm-hmm. That's what this is. And by the way, this version you can steal it if you want because it's free online to use, public domain, which is kind of nice because most good pieces of music you have to get some kind of permission to use them. This one came from a place, at least they said it was public domain. I hope that they're right. Okay, I'm going to leave this off. I'll leave this off now. I'm going to keep this as simple as possible. And go like this, and go /audio. And that's it. So what this does is, this is just like when you have a picture or anything, no matter what it is. You basically are saying, I have this audio, and this is where it's coming from. That's the name of the file that you have the music in your folder. Okay. And this right here says what you're going to call it once it's inside of your program. You give it that name. You see ID. This is what I call it when it's in my program. Okay, so my audio, I just gave it that name. Could be anything. Okay. Then I get out ahead. there's no need, when you put these things in right away, there's no need for using JavaScript, unless you want to do something with it. We don't want to do anything. We just want the thing to play. We don't need JavaScript. It just plays on its own. And I'll show you how to work. That one won't, but it will when I get through. It will play on its own. Okay, hang on. So we get body. And I'll just give it that for now. I'll keep it simple. And then I got an image. I put an image on the screen, which you'll see. This isn't necessary. I just put it in for to have something on the screen other than a white screen. The Flower Girl. It's a painting from the 1700s or something like that. .jpg. So it's just to have something on the screen, and I gave it a width and everything, but you don't need any of that. To make this simple, I'm going to pare this right down to nothing. /body. /HTML. There it is. Okay. If you ran this program, you wouldn't hear any music. You wouldn't hear anything. You see the picture, the Flower Girl picture. You wouldn't hear anything. Okay. Because what you have to do when you put an audio up here, you have to put some commands inside of this, between here, audio, and the end. You have to put some commands in here to tell the thing to do whatever you want it to do. Okay. And here are the three things you can tell it to do. I'll show you how to write them in a second. But here, there are three commands that fit right into this line right here. Okay. One of them is auto start, just that word, auto start. If I put that word into here, insert it right in here with spaces and everything, just a word and hanging out there in space, that will cause this thing to start off and the music will start playing right away. If I don't have that there, it's not going to play anything. See, so auto start tells the thing to start playing the music. That's one of the words that you have to use. The second word that you might want to use is loop. That's just inserted anywhere up there too. It's another word that you can put in. And what loop tells it to do is when the song or whatever it is finished, it goes back and plays it again. So it'll keep playing it over and over again if you want to keep doing that. If you don't put loop in, and you just put auto start, it'll play once, and then it'll be over. Okay, so the loop is the second word you want to use. The third word is controls. And what controls does is it gives the person who's watching the thing on the screen a little control bar. It kind of looks like this on my computer. It might look different on different computers. I'm not sure what it looks like on everybody's computer. But there's a start thing here, and then it has like a ball here, and then it has another that has a speaker over here, and it has another little ball. And here's what this little thing, it's very, very small. It's only about ½ an inch tall. And what it does is this, when you put the word controls into this line right here, this will come up on the screen. Okay? Now, here's what I think you should do. If you use the word controls, you should take this line and put it down in the body and put it where you want it to be, because that's where that's going to appear. In other words, if you put it under the picture, if you put it after the picture, it'll appear under the picture. If you put it before the picture, it'll be before the picture. So in other words, this line right here becomes an object that goes on the screen, like an image goes on the screen if you have this, if you have controls. Okay. Otherwise, it doesn't make any difference where it is. It could be any place. Only when you're going to show the user something physically do you want to put it in a place where they actually will see what's going on. Okay, so what this part is right here is very simple. They press this go button, the thing will start to play. It'll play for them. And then they have control. They have a little bit of control over the volume here. It's a very little thing, but they have a little volume control. Okay. Now you don't need that because you actually, when you play something that's just going to play background, they can turn the switch up or down. And they'll, they're their own control. And so basically, you don't have to worry about that when you're doing it without having the controller. When the controller's there, then they can actually change the thing. The only reason why I don't use the controller normally because it just clutters up the screen, and people don't really. I mean, if it's background, what are they going to do? If they want to turn it off, they can just turn the speaker down off. That's it. I mean, it's easy to do. But to add that little extra thing in there, it just clutters up the screen, and it doesn't look great. What I've done online is I've set up some programs. One of them has, when you run it, you'll see no controller. It'll stop playing right away because it has auto start. Of course,
So you wrote on the board auto start, but I'm looking on your program on your website and it says auto play. Is there a
Oh,
difference
is it
between
auto
auto
play?
start and auto play?
Thank you, sorry, you're absolutely right, it is auto play. Ew. Whoa, am I getting bad? Auto play, yes. Oh, we got auto start, where are you going? I don't even know where I got that. Auto play. Yeah,
Auto
thank you.
start.
Good catch, good catch. I'm glad you're here. You stay right there. You come in every day. The thing is that, yeah, what happens is it's autoplay, and that's the word that you have to use to make the thing go. By the way, let me just write it in there so that you'll see the line with it officially there. In fact, I'll put them all in. Here's what it would look like if you can put all of these in if you want to. It doesn't make any difference. Any combination you want, you put autoplay. And the order doesn't make any difference. Loop. Keep everything separated, don't forget. And controls. And then source equals whatever the noise is. Dot wave or MP3. Put MP3 here. Then you slash pot. Did that right? Okay. There it is. So in other words, you just put these words in, any one of these three words. And there's other words too, by the way. There's pause, there's a bunch of other words, but we are going to use them, so I don't want to load you down with it. If you ever want to find out something that, all these things, there's more to them always than I tell you. The thing to do is to go to Google, say HTML, say audio, and say, commands or something, whatever you want to say, and it'll come up with a whole, 6,000 sites for you to go to. And people write these things differently than I do too, by the way. We've got this style right here where I gave you a tag with the ID in it and all that stuff. This format right here is a format we've been using for everything, so I'm keeping that format. There are different ways of writing this thing, and I'm telling you now, you can go online, you'll see some different ways of writing it. It'll look kind of confusing. For example, some of them they'll say audio, my ID audio, and they'll cut it, and then they'll open up a new one that will say, let's see, they say source, S-O-U-R-C-E, and then SRC equals what, blah, blah. In other words, they break it up into different little tag sections, because source apparently is a tag. But don't do that. I think that's kind of like, it's one of those situations where computer geeks get crazy. They start making 6,000 ways of doing the same thing. There's no advantage to it, really. Get down to one way. It's like in English, we have a bunch of words. We replace one word with 10 others. Yes, if that's your mother language and you're going to speak it every day like those computer geeks do, fine. But someone who's just going to use this thing, get one way, get it down, it works just as good as their way, and then you're in a consistent situation. So I always write my tags like that. Everything's all one tag. Instead of making 3 or 4 tags. Okay, so that's the first program. And that one, what that program will do is it will start off, it will show the flower girl on the front, and it'll start playing that music, whatever the music is, or noise, or whatever it is. Okay? That's actually all there is to making things actually make sound. Okay, now what I want to do is something different. What I want to do is I want to introduce JavaScript, how we get control over this thing. Because at this point we have no control. It's just that thing right there is the only control they have, and that's built in. So in other words, we don't have the control to turn it off or on. It's all built into everything. But it's possible for you to write the program so that you can actually have them press a button that you designed. Press this button, it'll start playing. Press this other button you designed, it'll stop playing. So you actually have control over whether the thing runs or not. That's the beginning of being able to do things like make explosions when you want them and make gunshots when you want them. And you can control all those things yourself. Then you're using JavaScript, so now you get the ability to do that. Okay, so let me go to the second version of this thing. I'm going to get rid of it all. Start up again. Now, whether you put in loop or not depends on what you want to do. If you, for example, want to have an explosion, you certainly don't want the thing to loop. That would make any sense because it would keep boom, 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 and keep going forever. So basically what you want to do is not loop anything that you want to happen just one time. But if it's background music, of course you might want it to keep playing repeat over and over again, so you might put a loop in that. So that's up to you, but that's what those controls do for you. Let me just get the second program with what I want here. Okay. I'm doing my best to make sure that I don't write things on the screen like I just did, so I'm trying to use programs that I've already written that I know work, so that I don't mistype anything for you. But as I've always said, always use the programs that are online, because they do work, and I know they're correct. What I'm doing here, I might make a mistake, and that would stop me dead. Okay. First thing I want to do is, I'm going to have, this time I'm going to play the canon. Again, I'm going to play the pocket bell again, okay? So basically I have audio. You got to have that. It's always the same pretty much. And I call the ID, called it my audio. That's the name I gave it. I should say something about my audio too, by the way. There is a style. There is a style in JavaScript of the people who write JavaScript.
Is the A capitalized in audio?
That's just my name, whatever. I did it here, but in your own thing, you do whatever you want. This is just your name. You give it that. IDs are all yours. You invent them all the time, okay? But I want to tell you something about that. There is something that you think about. If you read other people's code, if you read a lot of code, here's what you kind of discover. Like I would be inclined sometime in the past when I would write variables, I might say, well, I'll call it my audio underscore audio or something like that. Well, they don't like that. They don't like underscores. They like to not have that in JavaScript. Even though it doesn't hurt anything, they just don't like the looks of it. They don't feel comfortable. So here's what they commonly do. They'll write my like that. Then they'll make a capital letter. And they'll jam it together. So in other words, the way they show you there's two words there, they capitalize each word is capitalized, and you can see that it is a separate word. So you can read it easier. Variable names are just reading. That's all there is to it. You've got to be able to look at them. You're debugging a program. You've got to see where your variables are, and you have to kind of see them. I can live with this, but that actually is a style that everybody kind of has agreed upon. And as I say, there's no rule about it. It's just whatever you call your stuff. The rule is you got to use letters and followed by numbers. You can use numbers too, but they're awkward. So don't use numbers because then it doesn't know what you're dealing with. Okay, but you can say A1 for example. That's a 1A is probably not good, but A1 is fine. Okay, as a variable. Okay, so what am I doing here? My audio. I want to have a source for it. Because it's background music, and I think that's all I did. Yeah. There it is. What that does is when it starts, it's not going to play. I don't have autoplay there, right? So it's not going to play right away. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to introduce JavaScript. It'll say to the user, you can press this button, it'll stop playing for you. Press this button, it'll stop playing. Okay. That's what I want to do is get that. So basically what I need to do is have JavaScript here. Before I do that, I'm going to do one more thing. Okay, here's what happens. In this line right here, that's an HTML. You can always tell when you got HTML because it's got these tags. That's HTML talk. It's not JavaScript. It's all HTML. When you introduce a variable to HTML, remember when you had like in1, for example, and you sent it up to your function, you got a new name up there. So in other words, when you start down here in HTML and you send something up to JavaScript, you give it a new name. You can give it the same name, but it's pretty dumb to do that because it'll get mixed up. So you give it your own name, and then you use JavaScript, you deal with that local name. But this is the same situation. That right there is my HTML name for the file. That's what I called it. That's what its name is. But when I get it into my program, when I get into my JavaScript program, I want to give it a new name. Okay? And here's how you do that. This is something I haven't shown you before, but it's a pretty standard way of doing it. Step number one, I want to get JavaScript operational. So I say script. Let's see, I don't want to use type equals JavaScript.
I thought it was language.
I should do language, I guess. Do it that way. There's several of them you can use, by the way, and they all work. Here's, again, where a problem comes in. When they first started having script and they started having that language in there, when they first started doing it, they weren't sure of how they wanted to do it. So what they had is, you see the one that says, the other one we use is type equals quote text slash JavaScript. We use that for all the includes up there, okay? And we use this one for writing the program, okay? There's no real reason why you have to do that. Both of them will work. But because of the fact that all my programs that I've written are set up with this one, I use this one. But the other one would work as well. I could also say the same thing. I could say type equals quote text slash JavaScript unquote close, and that would be the same as this one, and it would still do the same thing. Okay, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to stick with this procedure I've been using. Okay, so that basically we're starting off with JavaScript. Now we have to do something different. Say variable. This is exactly the situation we have with all of our regular functions. When you're down here in HTML, you have a name, which happens to be, in this case, my audio. But when it comes up to my program, I want to give it a different name. I want to give it the name that I have in the program, okay? So in this case, I called it equals variable sound. I called it sound. This is my name. I invented that. That's just a variable name. That's all. It could be anything. I just gave it the name sound. But this thing right here, document dot get element is capital B, V-Y-I-D. That's it. Okay. This is a JavaScript command. It says this is a variable, and I want to get this thing into my variable. This is my variable name right here. This right here is the name of the thing in HTML. That's its HTML name right there. If I say this right here, get element by ID, that's a specific kind of command in JavaScript. What you're going to do is it's going to go out here and get this thing, and it's going to convert it into JavaScript variable name and put it in here. It's very cool. And you can do it for a lot of different things, and as time goes on, we'll use it for other things. But this document.getElementById, it's a very special thing that they've invented, and it was one of the major additions to the language, really. It was quite good. It allows us to take things that are written in HTML and convert them into variable names that we have. And you should remember that particular approach to the thing, okay? It's just something that we can use now and then. I'll have other programs within it, so you'll see it again. This is capital E, capital B, capital I, and all the rest is lowercase. Okay? As I say, these are online. You'll be able to see them at today's program. Okay, the first thing I want to do is, now that I have created this sound right here in my own vernacular, I'm going to make a function that's going to play that sound. So I say, I want a function, and when I call this function, I want to play the sound. So I gave it the name, play. And I just went like so, Then I said, okay. This is actually a little redundant. This play and this play have nothing to do with each other. Here's the reason why. This play right here is in your program. That's the name of your file. You can give it any name you want, by the way. I just gave it a name, but give it any name you want. This is whatever you want to call this. Okay. But that has to be play right there. Because that thing right there, the sound, is the variable you created right here. And this thing right here is called a method. It's a function that will act on that sound. In other words, that dot says, this sound here has a function associated with it that will make that sound play. That's something they created in JavaScript, the ability to do that. So you can have any sound you want, dot play, and what that does is it will play the sound, provided that the sound was originally some kind of sound, and you moved it into a variable that you are considering it a sound. It's not a picture, it's a sound. Okay. So now this thing's actually it has an MP3 behind it someplace. And so what happens is I'm saying, I want to take that sound and I want to play it. That right there is the function that says play it. And it's called the method because you have the name of the object you're dealing with, dot, play the sound. That's how it works. Okay. So if I had a sound called banana right here, I'd have banana dot play, and it would play the sound of banana, whatever it is. Okay. So that function will play that sound. But now we got to get to the function. We have to write the program that actually gets to the function. So before I do any more, I'm going to do some more over here. So let me just go over here for a minute and see what the screen. Let's see what the screen's going to look like. In this particular program, I put the flower girl in, so she's right here. This is her with the flowers. And what else is on this front here? I have two input buttons. I have an input button that says play, and I have another input button that says pause on the screen. So here's what happens. When the program starts up, this is what you see. If you click the play button, it'll play the music. If you hit the pause button, it'll stop the music. As you can see, if I hit the play button, I'm going to have an input that's going to take me right to here. It's going to stop playing the music. And because of the fact up here, I do not have an auto start. The thing won't start when I first begin the program. It doesn't have auto start. So you're not going to hear anything when it first opens. So as soon as you hit that play button, it's going to jump you right up to here and stop playing the thing. And here's what it looks like the body. And I might have it center everything so the picture would be centered and all that stuff. But then what I have is I'll have the flower girl. Flower girl. .jpg. And whatever. I also made it very big, but let's pretend the picture was big enough to fit. I turned the width to 1,000. I took the picture and spread it across the screen. It was only about that big to start with. I just spread it out a little bit. But that doesn't make any difference. To this program, it doesn't make any difference. Okay, first one, I have an input button. By the way, I would have to have a BR here to have the picture on top of the buttons. And it should be centered, really. But anyway, I got input, type equals button, and value equals play. Okay, and on click equals quote. I want to go to this function right here, play. So there it is. Basically it says type is a button, value is play, so it's going to say play right there. And then on click you go to play. So when you put that button, it's going to go up to here. And the second button, this button right here, is, sorry for my writing, type equals button. And value of that one equals pause. It can be any words you want, by the way. I'm just using pause to say stop playing. And then on click equals quote. Where am I going to go? I call that function silence. This is the name I gave it. Could be anything. Could be anything. And this is where you tell it to shut down. So you say sound dot pause, and then shut this down right here. There it is. This is the function you want to go to shut it off. That pause is built into JavaScript. Again, use whatever sound you're playing, dot pause, and that will shut it off. It'll quiet it down. That function. This one makes it play. This one makes it shut off. We're going to click. We're going to go to silence. Click and shut. Quote. Like so. There you go. We're going to silence. Hard to read that though, huh? silence. Unreadable, but it's silence. And now I got to put all the other stuff in. Right here, I'd have to have /script /head to get this thing to shut down. And then underneath this thing here, I'd have to have /body /HTML. That should work. That should work fine. But in your folder, you'd have to have this guy right here, or some sound, whatever sound is you call canon.mp3. Brings me to another issue. Where do you get your sounds from? If you go to Google and you say sound clips, sound Bible, use that word sound Bible. There's a group out there that they collect lots of sounds, every kind of sound you can imagine. They're all free, and that's a good place to go. And you just go there and show. In fact, while we're here today, I'll bring down the sound to show you how to do it. It's very easy to do. And you bring down the sound, it brings you down a little MP3, and make sure that's in the folder that your program's in. That's all. Make sure it's in the same folder. And this program should. What happens is what's going to happen is the program starts up and there's not going to be any sound at all because you didn't say autoplay. So this is going to happen. You're going to hit the play button. It's going to start to play because it goes to here and says play. It starts playing. You hit the pause button, it goes to here and shuts it off again. It shuts it off right where it is, by the way. And if you play again and pick up where it left off, it doesn't back up. That's the advantage of having the controls from the controller, because you can actually drop into any part any way you want. We can do that, but for our purposes, for the things I'm actually writing, we don't need that kind of control. Okay, so what that program should do is it should allow you to play some background sound. Okay. The next question, and always the one that you want to do, is suppose, for example, you want to make an explosion. Your two things come together and they hit each other, and you want to say boom. You want to make a noise of some kind. How do you do that? Well, what happens is, supposing this noise right here was explosion, and it was just an explosion noise, and boom, and you wanted it to blow up and something happened on the screen, okay? So what you'd have to have is, you would still have to have this right here, which makes the noise, but if it's just a one-time thing and it's not going to repeat over, you just want it to go boom, then you wouldn't have this here. What you'd have is, you'd have it set up like that, so that you'd have the explosion up there. It wouldn't auto-play because you don't want the explosion to start when the program starts. So you're just sitting there waiting for someone to say, make this explosion go. So what happens is, right here, explosion is stored in here, and it's stored in here. So therefore, whenever you hit play, it's going to go boom. That's what's going to happen. And because it doesn't move, it's just going to go boom, it's going to stop. So you don't need to shut it off. It's not necessary to shut it off. Each sound is just going to go boom. That's all that's going to happen. So therefore, you wouldn't need this in that particular situation. And then what would happen is, in this case, what happens now is, if you had this situation as it is here, you would just have, you hit the play button, it would just go boom. It doesn't make a lot of sense because this button wouldn't exist anymore. That's all you'd have. This is the button that you press and it would go boom, that's all. In other words, if you're going to have a program that you press a button, it makes it go boom. The other possibility, as I say, is if you have something graphically going on the screen and you want to make it go boom when they bump into each other, you can do that. You just simply have to say, you have to have in your program, you have to find some way to say the proximity of these two guys is close enough. And then what you do is, you just, when they're close enough, when the distance is short enough, you simply go to this function right here that says boom. That's all you have to do. So in other words, when you're writing a program that actually has activity going on and sounds coming out, you have to write the program where the functions talk to each other a little bit. I don't have one that goes boom, but I do have another one that's I call the sound effects program. Here's what I did. I wrote this program. I assume, you know, in studios, in the old days, in radio studios, they used to have these sound effects console. You press this button, it would make that noise, press this button, it would make that noise, and so forth, which was kind of cool because they could make a whole drama just pressing these buttons and have people talking in between. And I'll show you that in a minute. I actually have the program here. A mini version of this kind of program. Okay, but the thing is that in order to use the sound effects program, what you have to do is you have to press the mouse and have the sound effect happen, okay? And something happen at the same time. So what I want to do is I want to write you a little something that kind of shows you the principle of this program I'm about to show you. Once you get the idea of it, it's actually pretty simple. To begin with, the program where I just simply press a button and it makes thunder, or I press a button and it makes a gunshot, or I press a button. So I have a bunch of buttons there, and you can press them and they'll make a bunch of noises. That's what they do. And they do it exactly the same way as we just did with this program here. It's just instead of having one button, you have several inputs, and they all play different things. So the question that you have to find out is, how do you play the sound that you want to play? Suppose you have 3 different sounds, and you want to say, if I press this button, give me the first sound. If I press this other button, give me the second sound, okay? So I'm going to write a little program now that kind of shows you how to do that. It shows you which sound you're going to play, okay? To begin with, the program up here looks the same. Let me rewrite this one and show you what it looks like. Suppose I have a sound effects board. Suppose I have 2 sounds I can play. I can play, let's say one of them is a boom sound. So I press this button right here. It says boom. And I have another sound that goes whistle. They're just 2 sounds, that's all. This one goes boom. This one goes wee. So in other words, whatever button you press, you can have a whole console of buttons that you use. So if I just show you how to do it with 2 of them, you can do it with any of them. It doesn't make any difference after that. So what happens is, the first thing is, you have to have both of those sounds have to come into your program. Okay? So you got the explode is in there already. Then we got to put another one in. That's my idea. I'm going to call that my audio 1. You have to give it. You're going to have different names now. So this one is going to be called audio. And this ID is going to be a different one. It's going to be my audio 2. Like that. I just gave it a different name. So in other words, it's just like having 2 pictures in you're having 2 audios. Just like you have 2 pictures in your program, you have 2 audios. And its source is going to be, obviously, a different thing. It's going to be the whistle sound. Whistle.mp3. Like so. Again, /audio. Exactly the same as the one above. Except that it's bringing in whistle, and it's giving it a different internal name. Again, down here, I'm going to call that sound 1, variable sound 2, document .get element, same as that right there, my ID, same as that, and this time it's going to be, this is my audio 1, this is going to be my audio 2, like so. So basically what I'm saying is I bring in 2 different sounds, give them, the HTML has 2 different names for them, they're ID'd differently. Then I say take each one of those things and give me, that becomes my JavaScript for the first sound, and this becomes my JavaScript for the second sound, okay? So, then what I have to do is, in my program, I have to have a place for this button to go up and make a noise, and I have a place for this button to go up and make a noise. And I'll show you how to do that. And by the way, if it works for 2, it'll work for 100. You just simply have to add more and more things. That's why programs sometimes, they look complicated, but actually you just got, this is the same as that, is the same as this, the same as that, the same as this. You just have to repeat these things over and over again many times. This only has 2. It only has 2 here because there's only 2 buttons. But if there were 3, I'd have to have 3 of these and 3 of these. And you can see what happens. You get more and more and more. Pretty soon you get a whole ton of them. It looks, the program goes like that, but it's really just a simple program. But anyway, this is how this one works here. So we're going to say I have a body. And I have input. Type equals button. Value equals boom. Boom. That's going to be the boom sound. On click equals, I'm going to go to this function here. I'll call it noise. go to noise, whoops, and I'm going to send it something. I'm going to say noise, what noise? I'm going to put the word what right here. My variable's name is what. What noise is this going to be, okay? So first I say onClick, and what I do is I go to noise, and I send it, one of these, I send the word boom, for example. I just send it that word. So in other words, I have a button, and it's going to go to noise, and it's going to send the word boom up to here, which is going to go into this what. It's going to end up in here, in what. Then when I say, well, if what is equal to boom, then what I want to do is I want to take sound1 dot play. There it is. Sound1. Yeah, sound1 dot play. In other words, if I said boom, then play sound1. If I haven't put this here yet, but if what is equal to the other word that I'm going to send up equals a whistle. Is it whistle? Yeah. Anything. You can give it any. You can say anything you want here. You can make up any word you want to make up. And then sound2 dot play. I'm going to put these things in. These things got to be there. Okay, and that takes care of that. So over here I have an input. I have this button. And value equals whistle. Whistle. That's because that's the word I have right here. And on click, I want to go to the same function I went to here, which is noise. Only this time, I want to send it the word whistle. Like so. So if I click the button that says boom, it sends the word boom to here. It says, is that boom? Yes. Play the first sound. If I put the word whistle in, what becomes whistle? And it won't hit this one, it will hit this one, because they're both the same. It'll play the second sound. And that way, this function will play any of the sounds you want. If you have 3 sounds, you have to have 3 if statements. If you have 4 sounds, you have to have 4. Sometimes you have to have the same number of audios, the same number of variables, and the same number of if statements to make it play all the different sounds you have. Okay? So if you have 10 sounds, you're going to have 10 if statements. Now I have to tell you, there's a thing called a loop, which has nothing to do with the loop here, but there is a function loop that we use in programming language. If you're writing something really complicated with 100 sounds, you might want to use a loop. I don't think you've got to get into that. If you do, you're going to have to look up how to do a for next loop. I'm not going to actually deal with that because it turns out to be not as useful as programmers like to believe it is. It's only useful if you're very lazy. Like if you don't want to write something 4 times, then you need a loop. But normally you don't need a loop for a lot of stuff that people use it for. So anyway, at this point right here, I have to end this off by saying /script /head. And this has got a body and has to have /body and /HTML. That's it, program over. Not much going on there, but it's pretty cool. You got to have these 2 guys have to be in your folder with the program, just like 2 pictures might be, and that's how it works. Okay. And that gives you the ability to actually press buttons to do the thing. How we doing? We're getting pretty okay. I got one more thing I want to do, and I'm going to do that now. Okay. Does everybody sort of see how that works? Don't forget they're online. These programs are in today's list of programs. All right. or something similar. This is not exactly this, but something similar is in there. Okay. Let's do the last thing I want to cover here. I had a program in the class before this last one, last week's, and what it had was a button and a blue button. You press it, it would change colors. Remember that? It was white, and I think it changed to blue, or blue changed to red or something. It had some color change in it. Basically, all it was just a button. And you press the button, it would change colors when you press the button. The whole idea was just to change colors. In this case now, what we're going to do is we're going to take that, put it together with the sound, so that when you press the button will change colors and the sound will occur at the same time. Okay? And we're not only going to do that, but we're going to do it with the mouse or with the keyboard. You can do it either one, mouse or keyboard. Okay? And in this case right here, the program I have with me, I think we're going to do it with the keyboard. Yeah, here it is. Okay, to begin, let me show you the theory of the thing. It looks like this. You got a key right here. And then down here, here's a key. There's a key here. So, okay, this guy right here is at level index 1. This guy right here is at Z index 0. And this guy right here is a Z index -1. So this is at 1, this is 0, this is at -1. Now, supposing I have two images, I only have two images, and I take the first image and I put it at 0 right here. And then I put the second image right here at position 1. And I put them all over each other, one on top of the other. These are positioned exactly on top of each other. Instead of three, there's only two things, this one and this one. Now, when you're looking at them, if this is on top because it's at 1, this is a 0, when it's on top, you look at it, you can see that one. You can't see the one behind it because it's on top, okay? So if I have it arranged so that when I press a key on this spot right here, this guy here, I change the Z index to -1, and it flops to the behind, and now you see this one. So essentially, when you press down on the thing, it disappears, and the thing behind it shows because it's been thrown into this position. And then when you let the key up, the thing comes back in front again. So that's what this program does. It simply has, you just say when the mouse is down, the mouse can do it too. You can do it with the mouse or with the key, either one. And I'm going to show you how to do it with a key right now. Basically, if you press the mouse down, you can have this thing fly behind that, and you'll see that. And you can let the mouse up, and when you let go, it'll come back up again. That's how the blue spot works. That's how the blue spot one works, okay? But what you could do at the same time is when you press down on this thing and it goes behind, while you're holding it down, you could have the sound start to play. And you can have the sound continue to play until you let up, and the mouse goes off, and this thing will come back up again. So what will happen is the key will turn red, come off from red, turn red, come off from red, go back and forth, and it'll make sounds as you press down. That way you can sort of, because you're hitting the keyboard, instead of using the mouse on the screen, the keys will be associated with each one of these keys that you're going to hit. And I'm going to show you, I'll explain in a minute, but basically the idea is when you press down on a certain key, one of those things flips behind and it starts making that noise. When you let go, it stops. When you hit the second key, that one flips behind and starts to play, and when you let go, it stops. So each key that you decide is going to be one of these notes that you're playing will actually cause that to happen, okay? So basically, that's the program I'm going to just do up right now with, I'll just do it with one key, that's all, just to have one, just to show you how this would work with one key. Okay, so we'll do the sound and the image. I don't have a lot of time, but I'll try to get it in here. Okay. Start off with, you have HTML. Head. I think this one's dead. Try this one. And the mouse or the keyboard, when we're actually doing stuff like that, we have to have an include file that says we can use the mouse and keyboard. It's the include file that controls those for us, so we don't have to write all that code, okay? So the first thing I want to do is I want to put this script in here. And okay, what that does is we're saying we're going to use, in this case, we can either use the mouse or the keys. We're going to have, both of them are going to be at our disposal. We can use either one we want. Okay, so next question is, I now want to put my audio in, my sound. Okay, and the sound here, I call it C4 because it's middle C, and it's, I guess it's the fourth one up. So it's the note middle C. That's what I'm going to put up here. So I got it off that site I told you about. ID equals. I give it the name my audio again. My audio 4 this time. My audio. I just gave it that name. You can give it any name you want. In this case, what I say is, oops. That's capital C, by the way. But you'll find that out. When you get your sound, you use whatever they give you. Mine happened to be capital C here. Doesn't affect us very much. Okay, I think that's it for audio. And we don't want to autoplay. We don't want to loop. We don't want to do either one of those things, so I say /script. There it is. Oh, /audio, sorry. Audio. Yeah, here. Okay. So basically what you have now is, this is the sound that you have in your folder, and that sound is now given this name right here in HTML. That's what you have, okay? Next question is, we want to make a JavaScript program. So we say script. JavaScript. Takes care of that. And next thing I have to do is I have to get this thing here into a JavaScript variable. So right off the bat I say, okay, I want to make a variable. And give it the name sound C4 this time. By the way, the word sound doesn't have to even be in this variable. It can be any variable you want. I'm just using that for my own, because they have sounds, that's all. Document, same as the last programs we wrote. We would get big E element, big B, big I, ID, and then my audio 4. Yeah. So now what I have is I now have that sound, which is this middle C sound in here. That variable contains that sound. So naturally, when I play it, it's going to come up. Okay. Now, it turns out that in your mouse key, when you use mouse key, when you put that in right there, you get two things. You can actually find out when the key has been hit, and you can also find out when it's been let go. You can do either one. You can say, is it down or is it up? You can ask either one. In this case right here, to go down, you say function. You have to have this function. If you're looking to see if something is down, you have to have this function. It's called key hit. Key hit. That's exactly what it looks like. And basically what that does is, when you hit a key, it will find out the name of that key for you. Mouse key will find out the name of that key for you. And then it will come down, and it will hand it to you, and you have to pick it up. But it comes down to here for you to grab a hold of it. And so in this case right here, I'm going to say it's called keystroke. I'm going to say if that key that it gives me back, which is called keystroke, stroke like that, is equal to, this time I'm going to look for 65, and I'll explain that in a second. Then sound C4 dot play. Semicolon. This is just going to be weird. Key C4 dot style dot index. No, Z index. Oh, joke. Z index. Equals -1. Return. This is a complicated statement right here, so I have to describe it a little bit. Okay, here's where it goes. In my main program, I have key C4 is the name of the picture of the key. It's called key C4. And it also has a style. Down in the program it has a style. And it also has a Z index. I told it to be a 1. Okay? So what happens is, when I have a key hit, when I press down the key, I think this is the end of this function. Okay, so I can do this. So what happens is, when I press down the key, the mouse sends me the key. It says, okay, keystroke contains whatever you hit. I say, is it 65? If it's 65, it's the letter A. 65 happens to be the letter A, okay? And when I hit that key, if it's a 65, what it's going to do is it's going to say, oh, well, you hit the note. Okay, in other words, you hit it on your keyboard, but the note assumes you're hitting it. So when you hit 65, this thing suddenly says, oh, you hit me. So what happens is, as soon as it hits me, what it does is it plays that note. And what it does is it takes the Z index, which was 1, and puts it at -1. It throws it, so as you hold it, you're theoretically hitting the key, so it's going behind, and the other one, the red one's showing, the other one's showing now. And then when you let up, this one goes back up again, and the note stops at the same time. So two things are happening here. One thing is it plays the noise, the correct noise, and then also it puts it in the background so that it gets out of the way, so the other key lights up and you can see the other key. And so basically, that's how that works. So you put it in the negative. Now, next thing is, what happens when you let go of the key? What happens? Well, you need a different function right here. And I've called that one key up, which makes perfect sense. Key up. And right here, you say, if the same key, keystroke, the one you just let go of, stroke, equals 65, again, it's the same key. Okay, then you say, this one, you say sound C4 dot pause. But what that does is it shuts it off. And then you change this color back to what it was before. You say key C4 dot style dot Z index, big I there, is equal to 1, semicolon return. You don't need the returns. I'm putting them in there, but they're not really necessary, I don't think. It won't hurt, you know. And that's it. And that's the end of the function right here. Right there. So therefore, you get two functions now. When you hit the key, this is what happens. When you let go of the key, this is what happens. So when you hit the key, it comes up. It says, oh yeah, they hit the key, they hit the letter A. So therefore, make the sound and turn this key 4, which is an image, shove it behind the other one, so it's not seen anymore. And then when you let go of the key, it says, okay, stop the sound, pause, stop the sound, and give the image its old color back again, so it comes back up to the front again, up to position 1. So in between is position 0, which is the one that's the other image you see. Okay. I'm not gonna write this whole program because it is online, but this is the basic idea. And what you have over there is, when you do a body unload, you have to unload startup because this guy requires to be unloaded at the beginning. Look at the programs carefully to do these things. You'll see what has to be there. And also, you have to have two images. You have to have the image of the front key and the image of the back key. So you need two images, okay? One of them is called KC4. That's the one that you're pushing back and bringing back. And I don't know what I call the other one, but whatever it is, it's there sitting behind it. It'll be there. I'll show you. I can show you online right now if we go right to it. So, do you see the idea though? There's the principal idea there. You see what happens. So you're doing two things. You're controlling what you can see, and you're controlling the noise coming on and turning off, whatever it happens to be. And that's about as simple as it gets. So let me show you the programs that are associated with this, and we can talk about how in detail how they actually look in detail. Okay. When you start putting stuff together is when it gets hard, because each thing that you do has its own set of rules, and you have to follow. Like in this case right here, the rules for the graphics, how to put things into different Z levels. That's one thing you're dealing with. And the other one is the sound. You're making the sound go, making the sound turn off. So both are happening at once. And so you have to deal with both of those things, but you can't. The instructions don't get in each other's way. You just basically do them one after the other, and they take care of themselves. In other words, the sound will take care of the sound thing, and the visuals will take care of the visual thing. And you don't have to do anything special to make it happen. Custodial responsibilities here. I'm going to turn the camera off. Yeah.